good afternoon, almost, or a bit good morning as well. Anyhow, welcome to the session of on the role of data centers to meet future demand in the region and also globally. I'm happy to have three panelists here with me: Steffen David to my left-hand side, as well as Axel Arteaga, and then Thomas Reinig to my right-hand side. Thomas is with Sewan, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce this. Axel is with Global Data, which is a US-based or LATAM Caribbean connectivity provider. You, Thomas, again, you do white label internet access, and I guess we're all happy to hear a little bit what white label internet later on, what white label internet access is. And last but not least, as I said, Steffen David from Internet Provider in Berlin, which is also the host, sponsor of our session right now. And I'm not going to introduce you any further because we're going to have a presentation by Steffen David for the first 10 to 12 minutes in the beginning to kick it off, and then later on we're going to dive into the matters of data centers. Thank you. Oh, and I need to mention this, excuse me, Victoria Reuters cannot be with us at this very moment because she got called back for some kind of work emergency. So, and she sends her apologies, and yeah, no, it's your turn. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Carsten. Good afternoon or good morning for the IT guys. I'm Steffen from IPB, Internet Provider Berlin. Usually only few people know our company, or in the carriers community we are a bit known, but maybe some of you or from the remote viewers will discover some secrets today. The topic over this slot is the role of data centers to meet future demand in the region and globally. Of course, this gives me the possibility to have some words about what's going on in the region, which is very dynamic at these days, and what our role is in this game that's going on. So I have to take this one. Yeah. So just a few words we started as an internet service provider 26 years ago. Of course, we have some cloud operations in place, which was very useful to establish cloud service, because the operation of a data center needs professional data handling, and if you're not able to operate your service by your own, you have to rely on some operators that are maybe not used to handle a lot of monitoring data. So what's going on in the field with having a lot of sensors, etc., giving continuous flow of data with very small packets. So we are used to it for 20 years now, with operating a data center with camera surveillance, temperature, humidity, rotating speeds or whatsoever. So what we did is we built the largest data network node in the eastern part of Germany. That are some key facts about the company. I will fly over this. You will be able to download the presentation. So, but only one fact: we are not a big company. We are about 75 people living from the company. And a very important point is the sustainability. So we have CO2 zero footprint for our data center operations since 2007. And the secret behind our, yeah, it's a major role in Berlin. That's true. So usually we are a bit understatement, but we are operating very important data nodes. That's why this is important. Yeah. Okay, so that's how it looks like in one of our data center rooms, and you can see that our main node, it's the roof on the low side. It's not only a photo of Berlin, but we are in the very middle of Berlin. And that's a good point to connect everybody, because everything every cable that has been built throughout the years 1999 to 2001 is passing this building. So it's all the long haul networks are passing this building, and that's why it's a very important place. Just 2 slides to explain what's going on. So we are in a world here with much knowledge about background technology and some details. It's obvious for some of you, but probably there are some who don't know how it works. So we are eyeballs. We are viewing content on the internet, or we are viewing results of some generated data. And this slide is just showing how we are getting to that information. So we have, let's call 3 different type of data centers. On the left side, we have the big cloud data centers that are operated by the large cloud players themselves. Let's call, for example, Meta operating much data center in the Nordics, as we are here in Europe. Yeah. So in the Nordics, energy is not so expensive as in the Central Europe, and you have no cooling issues. And then we have some colocation data centers on the right side. And the data has to flow between these data centers to give the possibility for the eyeballs to touch the data you want to have, generated websites or whatsoever. So, and our role in this game is we are a bit in the center of it. So that's why we are hidden and not very public. But we have a different role in this game, as this locations, or we have 2 locations, which we call Hauptbahnhof and Südkreuz for data. Yeah, so main station for data switching. And this is much routers, and some CDN, content delivery networks. But there's only few compute and few storage data in these data centers. And you will find that in any city. So for example, in Warsaw, it's called LIM. In Paris, it's called Voltaire, which is hosted by Equinix. So usually global players are hosting these network sites. And it's not so easy to migrate the data away. So if you know the peering database, you can see that the density of networks aggregated in these sites is very high, and is much lower in the other cloud data centers. So some customers, I will jump over it. So I've assigned to give a bit speech on, yeah. So, but Carsten knows me, if I have a mic, then 10 minutes will grow up to 30 minutes. No, don't be afraid. So, okay, this is our topic today. And it's very interesting what's going on around Berlin, because there are many new hyperscale data centers in development or already ready for service. So we have, I will show a map on the next slide. There you can see what's going on. Within Europe, Berlin shows as the hotspot, as many hundred megawatts are deployed today or during the upcoming few years, and it's still a growing market. And this is our topic today. What influence will this development have on our future life? And there's one massive discussion going on in Germany and of course throughout Europe. It's the Energieeffizienzgesetz, so energy efficiency regulatory influence. And the main point is the waste heat reusage. Of course, a data center site gives the possibility to reuse the heat coming out of it. And in Sweden, there's a well-known example in Stockholm, which is running for more than 10 years now. It's not allowed to operate a data center without offering the heat for usage. So we are very far away from that within Germany, which is not very helpful to climb up that mountain we have to climb, which is the climate neutral mountain we have to climb. But it's going on now. So we are 10 years late from our perspective, but as we say in Germany, better late than never. So let's see what's going on the map. This is so hopefully you can see the difference between gray and green. So gray is the main city infrastructure of Berlin. And the green part is outside of Berlin. So the blue points, the blue spots are the existing data centers, and the red spots are new, deployed either during the past half year or will be deployed during the next 2 or 3 years. The latest project is this 100 megawatt spot in Lichtenberg. And you can see that the blue spots are very small in comparison to the red spots. So the blue spots have one advantage. If you want to reuse the heat coming out of the data center, of course, as we are in a low temperature level with our heat, it's about 25 or 30 degrees heated water coming out of the data center. You have to upgrade it with a heat pump to have the possibility to heat some buildings with it. But if there are no buildings, it's only one more slide. If there are no buildings, it's very difficult to give the heat to the citizens. So if you see the 160 megawatts on the left side, there is a village with 10,000 inhabitants. So if you put 160 megawatts into that village, you will cook all citizens. And so the amount possible to give there is about 5%. Also in the south, the 56 and 36 megawatt installations are far away from anybody. So it will be very, very difficult to have a heat reusage. So what's going on in the future? This is from Uptime Institute, a well-known institution analyzing the data of the data center market. And this is about the power density within one rack. You see that on the left side, there is a very large bar between 4 to 6 kilowatts per rack. This is exactly what we can see in average in our colocation data center. So there is about 1% saying we have 70 kilowatts within one rack. I would like to see that, because you have to move a lot of cooling liquid to put that away. That's a danger for IT operations from my point of view. But the most interesting part is the range between 7 to 9 to 29. And that's a sign where it's going to in the colocation data centers of the future. This is my last slide, Carsten. Yeah. During the past years, we had 34% of the rack power density in a rapidly increased manner, and 50% slowly increase. So there is only a few racks with the same power usage today in comparison to 3 or 5 years ago. And that brings a number of challenges to the data center operators. So in the future, with to give two buzzwords into this discussion, what we have to handle with AI, quantum computing, we don't know exactly what to expect there. And that will be the challenge for co-location data center operators, how to handle that, because you have to offer some liquid cooling for such deployments, but the deployments are not standardized. There is no real standard how to handle that. And that is a main challenge for the co-location operators in the future, because the only thing we know, it will be more data, and not only data flow for the exchange points, but also storage and analytics with GPUs, AI, etc. So let's talk about the challenges. These are the topics we are talking about now, and my time is over. Thank you very much. And we may start in the discussion now.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Stefan. Please have a seat. As the first item is sustainability already, I'd like to give the floor to Axel first, and maybe in the sense of how important is sustainability in data centers for Gold Data's business, for Gold Data's operation. But before going into that matter, of course, we would like to introduce a bit in more detail than I did prior to Stefan's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, and thank you for the presentation of the interesting world of data center. My name is Axel Arteaga. I am the Chief Operating Officer of Gold Data. We have a 25-year connecting Latin America. Our business is to connect the countries in Latin America with the US. We operate several POPs in Latin, and today we are working in a new submarine cable between Mexico and US. With this opportunity, we will have our first data center with 311 stations. Okay? And for us, it's not, the company operate a data center. We understand the business because today the data center is a most important role in the data flow and the digital economies. I know that in the case in Europe is existing more different initiatives to the climate change and other reasons. Today in Latin America, we are in the first floors to develop more initiative for the climate change. But we know that existing kind of new technology, and for example, I saw the difference liquid in the immersion to the servers to have a more data center with the power increase and other, maybe the data increase 30% each year, and we don't know what is the top of the demand of the energy in the world. It's difficult not for us, for the next generation, and as well in the case in America, existing a project with a University of Oregon that are working to have a data center. We have AC. We work with to have a better option to climate change.
Thank you, Axel. Thomas, more or less same question to you for Sevan. What for the operations of Sevan, what kind of role would the sustainability of data centers or the efforts for sustainability by data center operators. Does that play a role? And insofar, what kind of role? But also be so kind and introduce you a bit more in detail what you do and what the one does. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Thomas Reinig. I am representing the Sevan Group here as a CEO in Germany. Sevan Group is a French-oriented company having its solutions and products in Europe, in Spain, in Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, and the main business is actually in France. And we are providing B2B solutions mainly to ICT, so to system houses that deploy business cloud solutions to their B2B customers. That includes cloud infrastructure, data center services, and as you said already, internet access and telephony services in a very simple way so that the IT guys in the ICTs can focus on their main business and helping their customers to be successful. And yes, with the experience in all countries actually in Europe, we always face the same issues when it comes to data centers and the powers. And it has a significant change when you look from the perspective of our customers, because when you deploy services today to large enterprises, but also even now to smaller enterprises, they also look for the green footprint. So it's actually also a question or a pressure that comes from the market to change the way how we do business, to try, to say we are all green. Of course, everyone knows it's today not possible. So of course we can compensate our CO2 population by buying certificates on the markets, etc. But it is a big topic. And of course, also on the other side, we all live in this world and we all would like to stay in the world, and also our kids. And so of course we have to deal with this challenge. And especially in Berlin, we will also face other challenges, like the power has to come from somewhere. We do not have so many energy stations, and Germany is one of the countries that has decided to leave the nuclear energy, and we are really a little bit challenged to also be able to deliver this kind of power requirements that will come up in the future. And we do not have the alternative green energy in Berlin. We have it on the north side. Some of them, yes, we have on the north side, on the sea, on the south side of Germany, but today it's very hard to always have the energy in this quantity that is needed in the future for everybody on the locations.
Thank you, Thomas. In terms of, you said already that it's the green footprint is coming from the market, from the demand side. In terms of like the regulation, do you think that the current position and takes by the regulator or regulators, plural, are helpful or not so helpful, or what's your take on this? And I'll pass this question on to you guys as well.
Yeah, I will try to make it short. A regulation is always something that a market never really prefers as a solution. And indeed, there is a free regulation inside the industry to say, okay, we stay with certain ideas of energy conservation and optimization. But in reality, we have to admit that during the last years, the efficiency was actually decreasing. And therefore, I'm pretty much afraid that if we continue like this, and if we don't show to the regulation that we can change it and that we are going to do it, something will happen. And there's always two ways to do it. The one way is to have regulation in place, and the other way is to have incentives in place. I personally prefer the second solution, so to bring incentives to our market to say, okay, if you're doing a good job, if you are green, you get more support from us, and to make to bring the pressure more on a commercial level, on an efficient level, but also to respect the situations of the companies, where they're coming from, also what kind of possibilities today they have in the certain areas where they stay to be able to be more efficient.
Thank you, Thomas. Steffen, the role of regulators, is it helpful, not helpful, stressful? Thank you.
Okay, in my role as a CEO of a commercial company, I'm not happy to have a regulator, of course. As a citizen of this country and with some experience what's going on there, I think there has to be some regulatory framework because in parts it's not good what's going on because it's anti-efficiency that's going on. And we have to see both sides. On the one side, we have the energy generation. You talked about that. So in the eastern part of Germany, we have a very, very good advantage. We have a lot of wind. We have less clouds than 20 years ago. That's climate change. So we have a lot of solar energy. And there's a very, very good landmark reached in the first quarter of this year. We have 71% 71% of the power generated in the eastern part of Germany is already nachhaltig sustainable from wind and etc. So the question is, do we need a regulatory framework to get more? Because it will be more. We will be at 90% in only a few years. So that's good. On the other side, the power we are using here in the eastern part of Germany with all the large data centers, if we don't use it efficient, the Bavarians won't get any electron from us. So we have to be efficient, of course, even though we have a lot of reusable energy available, and that's the challenge we have to get, and therefore we should have a regulatory framework, from my point of view, that urges us companies.
So regulation sits on both sides of your shoulders, are like an angel and the devil, so to say, if I understand it correctly. Axel, what's the regulatory situation in the Latin American region in terms of sustainability?
I think that is not moderate today, the consistent regulatory, but in Latin American existing diverse association of private with the data centers, even the most important funds that build the data center provide from the financial funds, and these have ESG regulatory to put the money to the investment. You know, the company don't prefer the regulation, but I think that we need a mark to have a better practice to have a green power or more efficiency for the data centers.
Okay, thank you. Jumping to the next topic, which we have on our agenda here, it's a bit on the internet exchange and internet exchanges and peering, but also the relationship between subsea cables. But given the heavy rainfall we've had on Monday only, I wonder when the first landing station will deploy here in Berlin. But I also understand that subsea cables is not such a big issue, say for Germany-based operators or data centers, because not yet there aren't any landing stations here yet. But for you, Axel, I guess subsea cables is a thing for you, for Gold Data, to connect the various Latin American countries with US and vice versa, and also the Caribbean in particular. What kind of issue would you have with, or do you have issues with subsea cables? Do you operate them by yourself? What are the challenges of operating a subsea cable by yourself, or do you have IRUs only? So what's the operation model for Gold Data in terms of subsea cables? Thank you.
Thank you. Today, I think that we have two history. The past history, the old cables and the new cable that we landed. Today, in the new practice have a CLS, a neutral CLS with different ecosystem to receive different cables, and follow or in the same location, a data center that create a good ecosystem for the city, for the power, for the world, for the digital economy. And I think that the challenge for the submarine cable is to have a landing station neutral that guarantee connection for the all people to even to have a better economy with the cable, because if you landed in a non-neutral station and they can get the capacity outside, it's difficult for the owner of the cable, of the local operators in the city. I know that I think that the better practice is the practice today. I think in Europe is the same. We have a several cable landing station and create a ecosystem with IXP and ESP and different carriers, content providers, and the complete triangle to have a better digital infrastructure for the country and the economy.
Thank you, Thomas. I would suppose that landing stations and subsea cables are sort of important for Sevan as for buying long-haul services, but my understanding is that internet exchange points are much more important for your day-to-day business than operating subsea cables or landing stations. Is that correct? So in terms of internet exchange points, what do you see as current challenges as well as benefits in general? Thank you.
Good question, and also difficult to answer. I can only share my personal opinion on this. Of course, our business fully relies on internet exchange point and access to different carriers. And indeed, sea cable itself is not really a topic for us. We are within Europe and within Germany, not challenged too much with this topic, but of course, in the end of the day, it's extremely important to have access globally, and of course also long haul lines to be able to connect from A to B and bring the worlds together. For the evolution of the internet exchange point, I think we see two kinds of developments. The one nice thing is the local exchange points. Here in Berlin, we have B6. We have also some guests here from B6 that manage to concentrate different ISPs, different service providers, different content providers very locally with extremely nice technical parameters, so with very short round trips. So as locally, those, let's call them smaller players, have an important role, even more today also for the private consumers to be able to look high definition TV and to share videos, etc. So that's also on the private level extremely important, but also on the business side. So as you know, from the pandemic, also the home office part became very important, and we have much more traffic flowing from the B2B arena to the retail arena now, and therefore it's very important. But on the other hand, we have to see if those players stay neutral. What is their role? How to separate their role from bringing the networks together while starting to become a carrier, starting to have partly also additional services. Are the ISP ready to buy and trust managed services in their backbone levels? That's something I today not yet see, but would really help to speed up the evolution of the internet services.
Interesting, thank you, because that's what you've just said. Sort of, I have on my paper here already as the next question, which I will pass on to Steffen, but then to the entire table, sort of. I understand that you have at least 2 internet exchange points in one of your co-location centers.
6.
Six. So from that point of view, what would you see as current operational models for internet exchange points in data centers, and what might be emerging ones, and also what are the ones you would wish for, and what are the others you would definitely not wish for? Just looking at the operational models of it, because you just said, well, internet exchange points in the former days, it was like internet service providers of the same size exchanging data. That obviously has changed to some other operational models. And what are these? Yes, thank you.
So the internet exchange points, of course, even if it's 6, we are hosting the most important is the B6, of course, in Berlin. Yeah, but that's true. It's not just a joke. It's true. The role of the IXPs changed during the past years. There were some point they discovered that they can transport layer 2 data in a reliable and cheap manner. Let's say cheap, because it's just an add-on. It's not the direct peering VLAN, but it's a good add-on, and that's very helpful, even for mostly for the smaller ISPs or even for enterprises that are autonomous with an autonomous system, because they can have a redundant connectivity to whatsoever, to another site, to another cloud operator. So that's what we have seen. All the IXPs are offering direct cloud connectivity to the large cloud players, but also to the smaller cloud players. And that is a development which has showed up as very stable. So, and I think that there is space for many more years to do that business for the IXPs. So I think that will grow and will drive the bandwidth demand and the port density on the IXP business.
Thank you. Axel, you want to chip in as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I think is equal. The ISPs, their role is changing. Today they offer not only peering or interconnection, and they have a model that like a fabric connect the cloud interconnection with different data centers. This is a kind of opportunity for the B2B and other ISP to reach the network in several countries or region. And we have several examples from even the same data center like Equinix or different IXP offer connections. And they create an ecosystem to the data center, to more cross connect, more access to the ISP, and you know the better latency, good connection, and a good price for the market.
Thank you. And in terms of let's stick to the operational model for just another second. The first part was on the technical operation, and I just wonder whether you would have an opinion also about the, say, management type, because essentially there's 2 different models. The first model is an internet exchange point built by the local community, where the community in that region is sort of responsible for setting it up, and the other option is essentially where it's a business model of these organizations to bring internet exchange point operations to various regions, which I would call a flown-in internet exchange point, where the local internet community doesn't really play a role. Is that important for you, whether you would have like a homegrown internet exchange point or a flown-in internet exchange point, or doesn't it matter?
I believe you need both.
Okay.
So in the end, of course, for me, if the local environment is large enough to be efficient, to help the evolution of the local demands in terms of the providers being there, like we saw in Berlin, we have all the big players, we have a lot of content aggregators, and that totally makes sense to have a local peering. And we see that all over Germany, not only in Berlin, that this evolution comes, but it's also driven by some larger IXPs that also help with their knowledge and of course with their power of bringing the large telecom operators to the local sites, to local data centers, and to provide the connectivity. So I personally see it as a very good evolution. And what we should not forget is, at least in Germany, we have an extreme challenge with the FTTH deployment. I have a little hope that this part of the IXPs might help to bring those words together. You have to imagine we have 300 relevant operators, carriers that are diggering cables. In total, there are even 700, and they all, at a certain point, need to be connected somewhere. And this is something where we have to see how that's going to work.
Okay, thank you. Steffen, any opinion on these two, say, management models of internet exchange points?
Yeah, it's interesting. In the past, we have seen that several business-driven IXPs had only one chance to grow, which is to open new sites in other cities. So some are worldwide operating sites now, and others who are more community-driven are focusing on their claim. That's like the B6 is doing, and there are many other examples. Even if there is much development in the FTTH market, and every line has two ends, one at the end user and one in some data source, there will be a market of different operators. But if I say nowadays we have 6 IXPs, maybe in 5 or 10 years, only 4 or so will remain.
So you would say there's a concentration, and also
a bit.
Okay, and also thank you for making it clear that fiber is like sausage, always with 2 ends. And Axel, any opinion on these two management models?
No, I agree with the comments, but I understand that the model today is to open more opportunities in IXP, construction of FTTH, and more connections, and maybe we can see 5 years, no 6 IXP, maybe 10 or 12 for any data center is to contribute to improve the network for the end users.
Okay, thank you. Looking at the time, I guess we've met the 45 benchmark already. On the other hand, I guess we can go a little bit over time. The last 2 things I'd like to discuss is if you look at cloud business, video on demand, streaming, 5G, and IoT devices, they all would have distinct traffic patterns. Is that a challenge for access providers, for operators, for data center providers, also for you as a long distance provider in the Latin American market? And again, I would like to start with you, Steffen, whether that is a challenge or whether that is simply still just data. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it is a challenge, because on the one side we have large packet data like online streaming, etc. But the growth of small package data, really small with more. If you look at one data package, you have a lot of header, and then there's one data within that will grow massively due to the sensors, etc., smart home, etc. That's only micro data, and to move that amount of data needs a lot of routing power, and not only one look at the header of the package and then swipe 9,000 bytes through the same way, but you will have 9,000 packets with only one small amount, and that's a challenge. That's a real challenge.
Okay, thank you, Axel.
Yes, it's a really challenge because the flow and the data increase CAGR of 30% each year. Each 3 years is the double of the data. With this, we need a more with 5G, FTTH, or the infrastructure, maybe more edge data center near to the end user with more streaming, more video. The video is the high demand of the impulse of the demand of the data, and as well also the hyperscalers. For me the big challenge is the power to supply to the data center, because the economy support with an investment, and the real estate is changing to the investment to the data center to technology, and maybe the more challenges for our earth is the power and for the industry.
Okay, understood. Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, I've fully to agree with Steffen, because we are from the VoIP industry, and when we started to install our first core routers, we looked at the vendor description and what we can expect in terms of data throughput. So super, we buy something for the next 10 years. After 1 year,
Okay.
it was over. Not because our growth was so fast. Yes, of course it was, but also especially the small packets need routing power. We have it's a software in the end of the day, even if you put it into the ASICs where you have some CPU consumption, and this is increasing massively. We will have so many different IoT devices, and this will happen on all level of networks, and the vendors will probably not start to have local small POPs to offload the data. So they will also pass the long hauls. So it will be interesting, but I'm sure we will manage that. We also see that the devices get speeding up as well. And on the other hand, I see also another very big challenge regarding the security coming to this. When we look on the M2M and IoT market, it's very easy to build hardware, to build software, and to deploy it. But if you once have 1 million devices outside and you have a security issue, it's not only a problem for the target, it can also be a problem for a local area to lose its connectivity fully for some time.
Thank you. You mentioned security, which nicely brings me to the last point of our agenda, which is also the closing round, so to say. Surveillance and security. What are the challenges, and are they seen as a burden in day-to-day operations, or rather as an advantage, or a bit of both? Advantage in terms of competition aspects, or is it a bit of both? And also, is it challenging that there's in the various regions are different surveillance and security regimes? Would that be an advantage or disadvantage for European players from your point of view? And you might combine this with any other closing remarks you would like to have. Thank you.
So honestly, I'm not sure if I got the question 100%, but what I can say is that in the end of the day, anyone who has any device in a public environment reachable has to deal with security and has to ensure to really have a security concept. And we as operators, as data center providers, ISPs, IXPs, I think we have a special role, and therefore it's also good that we have some regulation on those topics, where we have to follow certain rules, how we deploy the solutions, and that we take care about security. And no one should rely in this industry on someone else ensuring that nothing will happen. We all have to protect the borders, and we have to invest in security. And for sure, the challenge will be even higher in the future. We have new technologies that also that help us on the one side, but that is also impacting new kinds of security measures, attacks, and therefore there's no other way around. I can only say for Sevan, what we do is that we cooperate with a very large security operator, Fortinet, where we deploy those solutions in our network. We do not provide any cloud DC solutions to our enterprise customers without having a firewall before. We even don't, it's maybe commercially, we are maybe not the cheapest due to that, but we say, hey, this is your business, this is your value, you have to protect it, and it's the only solution.
Thank you. Axel, any remarks on security and surveillance?
Yes, and more cloud, more service, more model as a service is demanding more security. And for us, for the company that operate network, we need in the first have our network protected to offer services to other customers or to our customers. You know, if you can review the revenues from the manufacturer like Fortinet or Barracuda or any company that offers services, growing the revenue each year, because the security is a trend, an opportunity. For us, the challenge is that keep the border protected and keep hire the people to the cybersecurity to offer services. Even it's interesting that the company that offering the past CDN like Akamai or Cloudflare today is offering services in the cloud to bank, to B2B. Today is the first revenue of the company is provide of the security services. It's a joke. Today is the priority. Keep your security in your assets.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
Last but not least, Steffen, your closing remarks. Thank you.
So thanks. I agree to both of you. There's one aspect getting more light on it. Meanwhile, if you are an internet service provider in Germany, it could be that you even get no cybersecurity insurance anymore, because you are per definition under attack and unsure. So that is one sign that there is some danger in it, and the insurance companies understood that sign. So I think it's our job to be on a continuous mission to teach our customers how important cybersecurity is. And it's not only cybersecurity. We have seen attacks on critical infrastructure, just like Nord Stream pipelines. So now the subsea cables are in discussion. So I think it's very good to have a look on its, or each company has to have risk management for itself, having enough redundancy, reliability. So if you understand security, not only from the cyber security perspective or from a physical perspective, but in form of a complex risk management, you have to do that. If you don't do such, you are under attack, and maybe in short time, you are even not there.
Okay. With that, I'd like to close this session. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Steffen. Thank you, Axel. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, GCCM Carrier community, for having organized this particular panel. And also, again, thanks to IPB for being one of the main sponsors of our particular last night's party, as well as this session. Thank you so much. And
you.
have a good afternoon and enjoy lunch. Thank you.